Well, here we go again. This is, I believe, the 8th lecture for Religion 3338. This time we are going to have a look at symbols of the Virgin Mary. We've been having a look at symbols for Christ. Probably there's been more artwork in honor of his mother than there has been generated in honor of Christ himself. The Byzantine tradition gives us very standard-looking icons. You almost never get a portrayal of Mary just by herself, though, in Byzantine art. Almost invariably shown with the Christ child. So here we have 3 examples, 3 different icons. Take notice the cross or the star-type jewel on her forehead, the halo, the golden background, the Greek initials for Maria, the Theotokos, the Greek initials for Christ as well. Take notice of particularly in the icon to the far right, the affection that's portrayed in such simple ways between the eyes of the Christ child and the face of his mother. Not all symbols of Mary are quite so straightforward in terms of iconography. Some are like this. This is a window in honor of the Virgin Mary. This is actually in the Roman Catholic Church in Bridgewater, in Nova Scotia. Now, what does this have to do with Mary? Well, it's the lily. This is a second-order symbol. What do lilies have to do with Mary? Nothing, except that the lily is a symbol of purity, the beautiful white, unblemished color. And this fits nicely with Catholic and Orthodox thinking of Mary as the spotless mother of Christ. Lilies aren't the only symbol. Here you've got fleur-de-lis on the left-hand side. You've got more lilies on the other side, and again, it's the color, the purity, the delicacy. That's the symbol of Mary. Not that there's any direct connection between Mary and these plants, nor is there any connection necessarily between the pomegranate and Mary. It's what the pomegranate secondarily symbolizes. The pomegranate, if you've ever attempted to eat one, is surprisingly fertile. It's almost entirely full of seeds. The Virgin conceives and bears a son. The one that you would not expect to be fertile turns out to be fertile. That's the connection with the pomegranate. The rose is a long-standing image of Mary as well, because of its I suppose, its endurance. Roses are quite hardy plants as far as that goes. The beautiful fragrance. There's always been connection between Mary and some of the love poetry in the Song of Songs. What is this lovely fragrance? The violet, particularly the wild violet, is a symbol of Mary as well. Very shy kind of flower. You have to find it in low, shady places. A symbol of humility. Pears are also a symbol of Mary. There is no mention of pears anywhere in the Bible that I'm aware of, although somebody, feel free to prove me wrong in that. It's the shape of the pear resembling the belly of a pregnant woman. That's the symbol here. Now, I've said at various points that the purpose of this course is to make you as literate as a 12th century peasant. And the 12th century peasant, seeing the fleur-de-lis or the lily or roses or violets or pears or pomegranates, would somehow have the Blessed Mother brought to mind. That's perhaps what we've lost, these secondary connections. And it's these connections with these second-order symbols that have so characterized Western art and Western literature and indeed Western culture. What follows is a number of artistic portrayals of various events in the life of Mary. The Blessed Virgin Mary, known also as the Mother of God. That's not a statement about Mary, that's a Christological statement that developed in the 4th century. As the teaching concerning human nature, rather pessimistic anthropology developed, particularly in the Western Church, there was concern that Christ, in order to be perfectly human, had somehow to be preserved from the stain of original sin. Now, it's Orthodox teaching that Christ received his body, his fleshly substance, entirely from his mother. There also developed, particularly after St. Augustine, this notion that original sin is passed along from generation to generation through the very sex act that causes generation to generation. So how is it that Christ would not have been contaminated by his mother's sinful nature? So in order to preserve the sinlessness of Christ, the sinlessness of Mary had to be preserved. The Immaculate Conception is a Marian doctrine with Christological implications. It really was only proclaimed as dogma in the 19th century. The idea is that Mary, by a special grace of God, was preserved from all stain of original sin. In that sense, she was very much like a second Eve, Eva in Latin. And in a delightful play on words, it said that Mary's the salutation to Mary from the angel Ave, A-V-E, thereby reverses the sinfulness of Eve, or Eva, E-V-A. So in this particular painting, we see Saint Anne, Mary's mother, conceiving Mary, or with Mary in her womb, preserved from original sin by the special grace of God. This is not a teaching that's universally held by the Church. The Eastern Orthodox view it with considerable suspicion, and until the 19th century, there was some variety even in Roman Catholic belief. At the time of the Reformation, the Dominicans in particular did not accept the doctrine of the Immaculate Conception, whereas the Augustinians did, probably just to tick off the Dominicans. Luther, being an Augustinian, accepted the implications of the teaching of the Immaculate Conception. So you have one of the great Protestant reformers holding to a doctrine that was not universally held in the Roman Catholic Church at the time. Orthodox style icons showing this Immaculate Conception. According to tradition, Mary was not conceived by sexual intercourse, but when Joachim and Anna embraced. Like I said, this is not an Orthodox teaching. This is definitely a Western teaching. There are different concerns, different theological concerns at work in Eastern Christianity. So you see two old folks, Joachim and Anna, embracing. That is Immaculate Conception. Immaculate Conception certainly isn't a biblical teaching, but the Annunciation is. The Annunciation, the angel of the Lord, identified as Gabriel, appears to Mary and says, "Hail Mary, you are highly favored," or "Hail Mary, full of grace." The Latin "Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum." This is told in Luke's Gospel, and there's a young woman, Mary, bewildered out of her mind. She doesn't know what to make of this. And Luke's Gospel, in beautiful understatements, and she wondered in her heart what manner of greeting this might be. I have no doubt that she did. So this early Renaissance painting here of the angel appearing to a very pious-looking Mary, who's usually seen reading or prayer. This is the Annunciation. The Feast of the Annunciation is celebrated on the 25th of March, 9 months before Christmas Day. Another portrayal, this one, the Byzantine tradition. Take notice how Gabriel's clothes, it looks like he's fighting a heavy wind here. The angels are somehow outside of normal space in these icons. But the angel appears to Mary and says, "Hail, thou highly favored." I rather like this. A lot of the kind of overwrought Victorian or early 20th century kind of Sunday schoolish artwork doesn't do much for me. But there's something homely in the true sense of the word, something beautiful, something simple about this. The strange visitor appears to an exceedingly common and domestic-looking Mary, and yet artistic convention is maintained here in several levels. The blue and white robes that she wears. Behind her, you see violets growing. Another more modern one, and again, I rather like this, but take notice that here the artist still has some of the Western artistic conventions in mind. There's a lily in a vase in the window to the left. There is a bed in the scene, linking this back to conception. It's a very domestic, provincial, one might say, scene. The angel appears. Take notice that the light streams in from the angel. Actually, no, I beg your pardon. The light comes from the window behind Mary, but somehow illumines Mary's face as well. It's always interesting to look at the source of light in such pictures. The Visitation is celebrated. Well, it's been celebrated on a couple of different occasions in the church calendar, either towards the end of May or in the beginning of July. Mary wasn't the only woman in Luke's Gospel who was carrying a child under strange circumstances. Her older cousin, Elizabeth, was married to Zechariah, who was a priest serving in the temple, had an equally strange kind of experience. Actually, Zechariah did in Luke's Gospel, where an angel appears to him while he's performing his priestly duties in the temple and informs him that his wife, who's been thought to be barren, will conceive and bear a son, and his name will be John. In the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, Mary goes to visit her. And according to Luke's Gospel, when Elizabeth heard the sound of Mary's voice, John the Baptist, who was in utero at this point, just goes crazy. And she says, even the sound of the voice of the mother of my Lord, the child in my womb is leaping for joy. You know, who am I that the mother of my Lord should come to visit me? And Mary breaks out in a song of praise that's still recited or still sung every evening in Christian churches around the world and in monastic communities. Mary's great hymn of praise, the Magnificat. My soul proclaims the greatness of the Lord. My spirit rejoices in God, my Savior. So this is the Feast of the Visitation. Here we actually have the text of the Magnificat in Latin. You've got two rather pregnant women here. Mary to the left, Elizabeth to the right. Magnificat anima meum Dominum, quia fecit mehe magna qui potens et sanctum nominum eum, is beautiful Latin manuscript of the text of the Magnificat from Luke's Gospel. The Nativity. There would be no Christmas Day. There'd be no point in celebrating Christmas without Mary. Of course, there's no point celebrating Christmas without her son either, of course. The icon to the left should look vaguely familiar. This is a Slavic icon. And is remarkably similar to the one that we looked at the very beginning of the course. You've got the wise men, the shepherds, the angels towards the front or the bottom of the icon. You've got some non-biblical scenes. Again, Satan disguised as old man will not look us in the face. On the right-hand side is detail from another icon of the Nativity or the birth of Christ. The star shines over his head. He's wrapped in these swaddling cloths or these strips of cloth. You do that because babies are squirmy little things. You do to keep them from hurting themselves. It also makes them feel very safe, like they're still in the womb somehow. Mary bows her head in adoration before the child to whom she's just given birth. Another Renaissance portrayal. To the right of it, you have one of these overwrought line drawings. We've seen this sort of artwork before. Mary and Joseph in a very antiseptic stable here, with the perfectly symmetrical choir of angels. Not my cup of tea, but there you have it. The Feast of the Presentation is celebrated 40 days after Christmas. According to Jewish custom, every child, every son that opens the womb had to be presented and sacrifice made for him according to the law of Moses. Mary and Joseph bring a couple of birds, turtle doves, to offer sacrifice. This is the sacrifice offered by the poorest of the poor. And they bring the Christ child to the temple, and there's an old prophetess named Anna who's living there, and a prophet named Simeon. And Simeon is an old man who's been waiting to see the deliverance of Israel, and he's been told by God that he wouldn't die until he would see the Messiah. And he takes the baby Jesus in his arms, and looking up to heaven, he breaks out into song. He breaks out into this beautiful poetry. This is wonderful, bittersweet song that's still recited every day at the night office of Compline, the Nunc Dimittis. Lord, now lettest thou thy servant depart in peace according to thy word. For mine eyes have seen thy salvation, which thou hast prepared before the face of all people. Light, reveal you to the nations, and to be the glory of your people Israel. Simeon, having seen the Christ child, says, that's enough, Lord. Now you can let me die. The only scene in Jesus' life between his birth and presentation and then his adulthood, is his beginning of his ministry, is this little odd scene when he's just a young boy, 12 or 13 years old. His parents go up to the temple in Jerusalem, and he somehow manages to stay behind and enters into all sorts of debate with the teachers, the Jerusalem establishment. And when his frantic parents finally find him, he says, well, didn't you know I was going to be in my father's house? And says he just simply went with them and was obedient to them. Now, Mary is absent from this particular portrayal, but she's certainly present here as this boy Jesus is trying to explain to his desperate parents what he's been up to for the last 3 days. John's Gospel records Jesus' first miracle as being the turning of water into wine at a wedding in Cana of Galilee. Jesus and his mother were invited to this wedding, and the wine gives out, and Mary comes to Jesus and says, we're out of wine. And Jesus basically said, so what? What is that to you and me? It's hard to put into English. The Greek text of John's Gospel is itself a translation of a Hebrew idiom. But he tells the people looking after wine to get half a dozen jars and fill them with water and dip some off and take it to the steward of the feast. And having done so, he discovered it's turned into the most beautiful wine. The servants know the source of it, but the wedding steward says to the bridegroom that this is the most unusual. Everybody else serves the cheap hooch after everybody's gotten drunk on the good stuff, but you've saved the good stuff until last. John calls this the first of the semia, the signs that reveal Jesus. So in both of these portrayals, one that's done up in the style of an icon, one that the one on the left isn't. You see Mary interceding with Jesus to do something, and despite the fact Jesus kind of blows her off, Mary's words to the servants have been taken as a command to all of Christ's followers. Mary looks at the servants and says, do whatever he tells you. Another one here, again in the Orthodox style. You see the stone jars being filled with 6 stone jars. Mary and Jesus having the center stage, the bride and groom in the background. Mary also appears, of course, at the cross, and is usually seen with at least John the Baptist. Not John the Baptist. I'm determined to say that. With John, the beloved disciple, John the Baptist was long dead by this point. The extra bar on the top of the cross and the thing that Jesus' feet rest on are conventions in Byzantine art to give some sort of three-dimensionality to the cross. The scene is outside the city walls, outside of Jerusalem. Here we have Mary on one side, John on the other. The icon to the right, we have the Roman centurion who, having witnessed the death of Christ, makes his own confession of faith, saying, truly, this man was the Son of God. Michelangelo's famous sculpture, the Pieta, the Pity, is heart-wrenching. Here, the sorrowing Mary holds the body of her dead son, in echoes of the nativity scenes. Another detail of this work by Michelangelo, even the veins in the arms, the wound in the side. It's the way that she comforts him in death. Sad and yet beautiful. Here's another one of these overwrought line drawings. Here the Holy Spirit as a dove with its head up, surrounded by 7 flames, the seven spirits, or the 7 gifts of the Spirit, descend upon Mary and the disciples on the day of Pentecost. Pentecost was originally a Jewish festival held 50 days after Passover to celebrate the receiving of the law on Mount Sinai. In Christian tradition, Pentecost is 50 days after Easter, and commemorates the gift of the Holy Spirit to the early church. Luke's Gospel tells us that when the day of Pentecost had arrived, all the believers had assembled in one place, including Mary, the mother of Jesus, and a great wind filled the house, and fires, tongues of flame, appeared on the heads of all present, and among other things, they were empowered to speak in strange languages. Pentecost, in that sense, is the beginning of the undoing of the ancient curse laid on the human race at the time of the construction of Babel. In the Western tradition, Catholic tradition, this is called the Assumption. The Eastern tradition is called the Dormition. Most Protestant traditions have just simply referred to the 15th of August as St. Mary's Day. So, according to Western theology, at least Catholic theology, Mary was preserved from the stain of original sin. Now that generates another problem, because according to the New Testament, the wages of sin is death, and if you are sinless, then how do you die? So the Western teaching, the Catholic tradition, said that when her time came, Mary was assumed body and soul into heaven. There is no tomb of Mary. There are no icons of Mary to be found anywhere. She supposedly was taken body and soul into heaven as a prefiguring of the general resurrection. Take note of the art here. You've got the disciples, who are now all old men, gathered around, and above the scene you have Jesus surrounded by these ghostly angels. Jesus seated in heaven, and he's holding what looks like a baby in his arms. And if you look carefully, the baby is Mary. And in this beautiful reversal of the imagery of Christmas, Jesus now cares for the newborn soul of his mother, if you like, she enters into heaven, as she cared for him bodily when he came to earth. Detail of that particular icon. Jesus holding his mother. This is the assumption or dermission, whatever you have in mind to call it, is not a biblical teaching. So it's a theological consequence of other doctrines. The queenship of Mary is a Roman Catholic doctrine, is a source of devotion in the Western Church. It's perhaps been apt to some of the most horrendous artistic and artistic excesses and excesses of devotion, the point where the queenship of Mary almost totally eclipses the lordship of Christ. On the left-hand side, Mary, a very dreamy scene where she's crowned as Queen of Heaven. This is all based on imagery that we find in the book of Revelation. Incidentally, I shouldn't say it's not a biblical teaching, but you certainly have to read between the lines. The right-hand side, Jesus crowns his mother with the crown of life. The Old Testament precedent for this, of course, is that the Queen Mother was not the spouse of the reigning king. So that, say, at the time of Solomon, Solomon had hundreds of wives. None of them were the Queen Mother. It was Solomon's mother herself, Bathsheba, who was the queen, or the Queen Mother. So the bride of Christ is his church. The Queen Mother then becomes his mother. Now, they're a bit overwrought portrayal of the crowning of Mary as Queen of Heaven, surrounded by scenes of medieval life. And in this, I forget if this is an English or French manuscript, but very much in the tradition of the Middle Ages here, Mary receives the crown from her son Jesus. Again, you take notice of the colors: Mary red over blue, Jesus blue over red. The cross in Christ's halo. Well, that concludes yet another session of Show and Tell with Father Wendell. Next time, sorry about that. Next time we'll be having a look at angels in artwork. The Greek word angelos means messenger, or one empowered with a message, just as the Hebrew word malach, which can also mean angel, equally means messenger. Angels are spiritual beings that are sent with important messages. According to old tradition of the Church, those with pedantic messages are simply angels. Those with very important messages are archangels. But we'll have a little look at some of the artwork concerning angels next time. Till then, take care, and we'll talk to you in a week's time. Bye for now.